and thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Stacey Hilton. I'm one of the co-spiritual leaders along with my sister, Reverend Cheryl Bell. And I'm reading this morning from Mindful Magazine because the theme for June is Mindfulness for Mavericks. Envisioning what is possible. This journey of envisioning what's possible in a very large sense is about agency. It's about how we marry empowerment to our love for the world, what matters to us, what wrongs we want to right, and what collective dreams we hope to realize. Whether that's resolving conflicts with a crotchety neighbor, or combating global warming, certain fundamental principles and practices of mindfulness can lead to the clarity and confidence that let us take that next step. I remember going to see an old farmhouse for sale down the road from the Insight Meditation Society in Bear, Massachusetts, which I co-founded in 1976 with Joseph Goldstein and Jack Cornfield. I went with Joseph and a friend, Sarah Duran. The farmhouse, as far as I could tell, was simply falling apart. Joseph and Sarah chatted happily. Well, we could try to move this wall, or at least open up that passageway. Underneath this wrecked floor might well lie beauty. What if we built a small addition onto the door or porch? Finally, I broke in with, please let's not buy it. I just couldn't imagine it looking like anything much different from what it looked like right then, even if repainted or tidied up. In my mind, it was forever dilapidated, forlorn, and in disrepair. They didn't listen to me at all. I realized the vision of what was possible had already been formed in each of their minds. Their visions may not have been identical, but each was bold and importantly realizable. They weren't overly idealistic visions, bound to be doomed by impossible fundraising shortfalls or the prospect of too much work, except in my mind. I realized they were actually holding the vision of what it was and the vision of what it could be simultaneously. Change would take resources, time, effort, community, money, but the spark that would get things started was to believe that the vision was possible in the first place. And so now, if you'll just close your eyes with me, if you're comfortable doing so, I'm going to ask you the question: what's Spirit's highest vision for your life? Planting that seed this morning. Because as we go through this time of change, there is still a vision within each of us, as long as each of us is breathing. For that vision for our lives. What do we want for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren? What is it? And so as you just ponder that throughout the day, I'd like to finish this with a reading by Dr. Ernest Holmes in this thing called you. Today I realize that the Spirit incarnated in me, God as my own being, constitutes the only reality I have. Today I'm opening my consciousness to a realization of the living Christ, the eternal sonship of the everlasting Father. I know that which dwells in me, and I know that there is an invisible God, a living presence with me at all times, with complete simplicity and directness. With complete simplicity and directness, I recognize my divine sonship. There is one light in and through all. Consciously, I unify myself with His pure spirit in which I live, move, and have my being. I am strong with the strength of the all vitalizing power of pure spirit. I am sustained by divine energy, which flows through me as breathing health and vitality. Every atom of my being responds to this divine presence. I completely surrender myself to it. And so it is.
Hands comfort. Will you please, Lord, close your eyes. See the first person. God is love, peace, joy, and comfort. And I know that I and each and every person listening to the sound of my voice is one with that peace and that love. And they feel that comfort. And they know that joy. I'm grateful for this day. And I know that everyone watching and listening feels the joy, the pain, and the service, feels the love of our space in a special way. Whether they're here in person or on the go.
And I right here and right now, I know who I am. I know that I'm here to be the messenger of love, of light, of grace and peace and power and joy. I know that in the midst of chaos and change, that I am built for this time. That Spirit has got my back, my front, my center. Spirit is beneath me. It is above and below and beside, and it walks with me in each and every step, in each and every breath. I know that this Spirit is love. I know that each and everything that is taking place right here, right now, is designed for greatness of who we are as a people. I'm knowing that all is well. I'm knowing that each person, black, purple, pink, blue, red, white, fuchsia, all people matter. And I'm knowing that right here and right now, that the people that are crying out, that felt devalued and not loved and unloved and undervalued and feeling a sense of unworthiness. I'm knowing that that is the attention where attention is flowing, that where my attention is going, that is where love grows. I am moving my heart with each and every person, knowing that there is love here. There is light here. There is peace here. And that all of that flows through my very essence, through each and every person's very essence that is watching this right here and right now, so that each person moves into a higher awareness, a higher consciousness of who each is, to be that love and be that peace and be that light, so that this world is forever changed, and so that this thing that's taking place right here that we're seeing in this nation, that it moves us into a new understanding, a new beginning. And so when as change takes place, I walk knowing that I am always at peace. It is just my thought. It is just my awareness. It is my decision to be at peace. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to know that this is the truth. I'm grateful to know that this is how it works. I'm grateful to know that each and every person that hears the sound of my voice tunes in because they know that it's true. And so with that, we create a world that works for all. With that, we are at peace. And so thank you. Thank you, Daniel, for your words, for your music, for your wisdom, for your kindness, for your joy, for your love, for who you are and how you show up in this world. It is so needed. I'm grateful for Yvonne, for her love of this center. I'm grateful for Reverend Cheryl, for the ministry and prayer team, for each and every person that attends here. Grateful for Patty and Dave, for our sound guys, for our kids. I'm grateful for all of it because who we are as a center, who we are as a community makes a difference in the world. And with that, I just release my word to that world, to that law, which simply says yes. Yes, beloved, I got you. It is done. It is done. I let go. I let God. And I let it be. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you. Welcome to Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living. Live, wow. It's Sunday again. My name is Reverend Cheryl Bell, co-senior minister here with my sister Reverend Stacy Hilton. And I want to welcome you. And if it's comfortable for you, if it's something that you don't mind doing, if you would please say with me, God bless America and the rest of the world. And please hold the world in your heart during this time. I have a short announcement. We will be reopening next Sunday on the 21st. And we are taking reservations. So you please call the office, email the office. We'll put your name down for the reservations. We are asking that, if we are taking temperatures as suggested by our insurance company. So there will be temperatures taken. Their ushers will seat you from the front to the back. We are urging and strongly urging that each person who attends wear a mask during the service. There is no hospitality. There is no children's church. And we welcome as many as 50 people here, including our ushers, staff, and the bookstore will be open. And we just know that each and every person that comes here feels safe and is comfortable being here. So we put all the guidelines on the e-bulletin that if you have any underlying medical conditions, please consider continuing to watch us on Facebook Live. That is going to be your best option. If you've tested positive, or if you know someone you've lived with someone who has tested positive in the last 2 weeks, watch us on Facebook Live. That's going to be your best option. We're going to welcome as many as 50 people in this sanctuary next Sunday, Father's Day, which is it's going to be a great day, and I'm knowing that the people that show up here show up in love and respect for one another, because we will be asking for no hugging and kissing, and I know that's going to be hard. I know it's even going to be hard for me and Reverend Stacy, but we're not going to do it. We're going to be respectful and just love each other with our eyes and our smiles. Thank you so much for being here. Reverend Stacy is going to introduce our speaker and our guest for today, and you're going to love today's service. Thank you.
Well, it is my great pleasure to introduce one of my most favorite, certainly musicians, but actually just men, because he just shows up, as I said in my prayer, he just shows up from a place of love. Each and everything he does. Each and everything he does is from that place, and it is a heartfelt, authentic place. And so let me read you a little bit about this young man's bio. And I know you've heard his songs if you've been around any kind of youth center. Los Angeles-based singer-songwriter and humanitarian Daniel Nahmod has performed his profound, heart-opening original music for over 1 million in 45 U.S. states and Canada since beginning his music career in 1999, selling 90,000 CDs to date and receiving literally thousands of standing ovations along the way. 15 of his songs have been recorded by over 50 artists in the past few years and are performed all over the world on a weekly basis. Recent media appearances of Daniel's music include NBC, Fox, CNN, PBS, E!, MTV, History Channel, IFC, Bravo, and movie theaters across the United States. Daniel's poetic and evocative message of peace, love, and compassion across all nations, cultures, and faiths has found overwhelming acceptance wherever he has performed. He has been featured on numerous cable and radio broadcasts in over 90 countries, at cultural festivals, interfaith and environmental fairs, workshops and conferences, youth rallies, 9/11 services, and as a keynote musical presenter at benefits for such organizations as Habitat for Humanity, Operation USA, Achievable and Anti-Defamation League. Daniel has also performed for various U.S. governors and mayors and for congressmen in Washington, D.C. Daniel has presented his spectacular music and message for nearly all of the world's major faiths, including Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, Baha'i, Mormon, and Unity audiences, and has worked with some of the most influential and brilliant speakers and leaders in the world, including G. Houston, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Mark Victor Hansen, Arun Gandhi, Yolanda King, Ronnie Britton, and Neil Donald Walsh. 15 of his songs have been recorded by over 50 artists in the past 6 years. One of those recordings, I'll Remember For You, reached number 56 on the CCM national charts. And his song, You Could Be Fired, You Could Be Fred, appeared on a top-selling CD from Blue Note artist Jackie Allen. In response to Hurricane Katrina, Daniel visited the Houston Astrodome for 2 days, walking amongst the survivors, talking, shaking hands, and singing songs. Following late 2004's humanitarian crisis in Asia, Daniel organized, produced, and hosted 2 soul-stirring benefit concerts, raising over $15,000 for Operation USA, a Los Angeles-based relief agency working in Indonesia and Sri Lanka. And in 2000, he was nominated as National Hospital Volunteer of the Year for his musical work at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. Daniel's CD Water featured beautiful, profound songs written under the profound influence of a 3-month sabbatical in the red rocks of southern Utah. Since the release of water, Daniel has introduced his water retreat, taking small groups back to that majestic area for 3 days of hiking, singing, and discussion for the past 4 years. Daniel's CD, Time for Fire, his 13th release, spotlighting his extraordinary gifts as an inspirational pop songwriter and vocalist, featuring such gems as Here Goes Nothing and What Kind of World. Time for Fire proved a fitting fellowship to his water CD. Daniel's 14th CD, Sacred Love 2, represented yet another powerful chapter in Daniel's uniquely powerful body of work, a follow-up to his internationally popular Sacred Love CD. 15 new prayer songs, unforgettably evocative and haunting, including If I Only Make You Mine, Witness, and a Word of Praise, Hallelujah. And most recently, Home is another all-new collection of songs from this prolific artist, including such instant classics as What Home Means Now and the unforgettable Alaskan Snow. Home features 12 ruminations on the meaning of home from numerous personal, spiritual, and emotional perspectives. Early listeners are raving about the power, intimacy, and insight of this incredible new collection. For more information, please email Sarah at booking@danielnahmod.com or give us a call. We'll give you his info. Please welcome the incredible Daniel Nahmod. Enjoy.
Good morning. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. You know it, sing with me. Love is my decision. It's up to me. It's up to me to stand on that bridge, to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive, can make me forgive. Once I decide to change my mind and change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. One more time. Love is my decision. It's up to me. It's up to me to dance down that road, to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load, can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. My decision right here and now. decision right here and now. We have a running joke in my family, my wife and I, that I never know the words to any songs, not my own songs, but any other songs, including songs I've performed, cover songs, songs I've heard 1,000 times, songs that the entire world knows by heart, and I don't know the words, and she's constantly catching me on it. Which makes it especially ironic when I sing my own songs, that I am hyper aware of individual lines and words in my own songs. I don't expect anybody else to be, but I notice things, maybe more than anything. I notice the line that breaks down the whole point of the song, or the sneakiest line in the song. Like, and I'll frequently do that. I'll drop a line into a song that's the hardest to master, or the most fundamental to the point of the song. And in Love Is My Decision, to me, the line, once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. That is a sneaky line. Because as I decide to be loving, that's all well and good. But how long do most New Year's resolutions last? I mean, one of my favorite comedians, Jim Gaffigan, says every New Year's his New Year's resolution is he said, I'm going to go to the gym every day. That's on New Year's Day. On January 2nd, he wakes up and he's laying in bed and he thinks, well, not every day. I can decide to be loving, and it's not all that effective all the time. I fail at least as often as I succeed, depending on how I define fail. And by the way, the line, I don't know if I wrote it now. I don't know if I put the word God in there particularly, simply because it's a little bit beside the point to me anyway. Now, for some, maybe for you, God will show me how means exactly what it sounds like, and you're all in on that. But I don't like excluding people who call God something else or don't believe in a God, but still believe in the notion that sometimes the best way to have an idea is to sleep on it. The best decision is to not decide. The best way to finish a painting, a fine art painting, is to leave out the last few strokes until you're sure. Or as Gandhi used to do, he used to drive people around him crazy, his assistants and his followers and so on. They would wait for a major decision. When are we going to have this rally? When are we going to march? Are we not going to march? Should we release a press statement? Should we make a meeting with this world leader? He would wait until he was sure. Now that, to me, in some sense, is similar to the notion that I can decide to be loving, but the form of it, the form that's going to take on a daily basis, I may not have worked out yet. But once I decide to do that or be that, I can breathe and trust and allow rather than force. God will show me how. My unconscious will show me how. Sometimes I'll struggle for the right feel for a song. I write a lot of songs, and most of them are not very good. And as I'm writing them, I used to be very glib and very dismissive of the concept of rewriting. I would write it and I'd be like, well, there's a bulletproof work of genius, and I would go about my day. Now I've kind of swung the other side of the pendulum, and now I'm incredibly prone to rewriting. I'm kind of never satisfied. So when I have an idea that I think is a good idea for a song, I might write that song a half a dozen times over and over again. One time as a waltz, one time as a rock song, one time as a weepy ballad, one time on guitar, one time on piano. I will completely restructure it over and over again until it feels right. Now, the way that I know that it feels right is by listening to it after I've forgotten it, if that makes sense. So again, a comparable idea. I decide and then I allow, right? So I'll hash it out and work, right? Work, sweat, stress. But there has to come a time when I let it go. And for a decision as big as being loving, most of you anyway, watching, live in Las Vegas. That is not, I'm going to go on a limb. That's not a place of pervasive inner peace. At least not the Las Vegas of visitors and tourists and the principal industry. That is a place of frenetic activity, of up all night, of show business. It's an intense place of big spenders and big investors and big dreamers. Neither is Southern California a particularly mellow or relaxing place. I happen to live in a sort of a suburb area in Orange County where there are more trees and fewer gridlocked side streets at rush hour. Doesn't much happen here, but still, it is not the easiest thing to decide who I want to be and surrender the path to get there. Okay? So the reason I bring all this up is I find myself, and as I look around, I find everyone, and I don't think I'm projecting, I think it's just simply true. I find us all at a crossroads where we've experienced, I gave a little workshop yesterday in which I sort of used language I'd never used before. I never thought of it before, but in a way we've been hit by twin hurricanes. First a virus, and then a tragedy and a crisis of conscience, a national conscience. And those two storms have thrown pretty much all of us off our feet to some extent or another. Not presuming, maybe you're feeling not at all unsettled. But as I look around, I can't quite think of the job or the region or the family that I know of or the industry that hasn't been walloped internally and externally by the events of the last few months. And it leaves me wondering, what comes next? What do I do? I feel different and I don't know why. I don't quite know how I'm different and I don't know what to do with it. And that feels like a pretty universal sentiment. Politics are weird, economics are weird, and finance is weird. The arts are weird. Church is weird. Technology is weird. When I say I had a little workshop yesterday, it wasn't going to be a little workshop. It was going to be a 2-hour workshop for which I had about 330 people register. And about 10 or 12 minutes into the workshop, my connection with Zoom went Zoom. And it wasn't the end of the workshop, but it was a major interruption and momentum gone, and we had to move platforms, and that seems to be the way of disruption of so much that's happening. is that most of it's unexpected. So much is beyond our control. So much is beyond our control that we can have the feeling, we can decide to be loving, we can decide to launch a streaming music career, for God's sake. I guess others have tried it, right? We can decide to have virtual church. We can decide to have a new kind of politics. We can decide to have a new kind of police. We can decide, but are we really going to be the ones to design the steps forward? And are we really going to be the ones to decide how it turns out? The observation that I would consistently make about decisions we make is that no, we can make some decisions, but we do not actually decide the results, the outcome. So once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. So what have you decided to change? Or what have you discovered you no longer are? I asked the group yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to hear any feedback because we weren't on Zoom, so I couldn't see any faces or get any responses. But I still like the question. What are you deprived of right now? That is to say, what's been taken away or what's prevented or blocked or barred or illegal, whatever, that you really miss? What do you miss? And maybe more interestingly or tellingly, what do you not miss that you would have thought you really would have missed? Right? How have you changed? Because I think that we all have. It's been a very, very strange, unprecedented, uncharted few months. I'm excited for you all, by the way, that you're going to be, at least some of you, will be back in the same room next week. Because we all know a screen ain't a human being. It's just not there. Things will continue to change and evolve, and I hesitate to say they'll return to normal, partly because that's clearly happening slowly and lurchingly, and then also partly because things are never returning, are they? I mean, they're always changing, always changing. Sometimes I see a headline, it makes me chuckle, like after COVID-19, the economy may never be the same again. Now, I know why they're putting that headline on the newspaper, on the website, so that I feel, sorry to be conspiratorial, but so that I feel tense in my stomach, a little bit shot of fear and dopamine, and I click that link and I spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes reading that article. Maybe I share it with somebody, maybe I comment on it. All of that generates income for the writer of the headline, for the publisher of the website. So the spark of fear and panic that such a headline causes, perfectly understandable from a profit perspective. But I was an economics major. It doesn't make me an expert particularly, but I remember some things about economics. And I understand a few things about economics and about finance. And the headline, after COVID-19, the economy may never be the same, is misleading. You don't need the opening phrase, after COVID-19, and you don't need may. You can go ahead and just say, every day the headline could be, the economy will never be the same. It's true. How about this? You woke up this morning. You will never be the same. I mean, right? We hear it when people injure themselves, or you get a chronic pain, or break a leg, or a professional golfer has back surgery, and people say, "Oh, they'll never be the same." Okay, that's slightly different context in that they'll never a pitcher who has what's the shoulder surgery will never be the same pitcher. Okay, but in general, congratulations, will never be the same. Will always be true. We are not actually in charge of the changes going on within us and around us the way we like to think we are. I mean, there's some we can certainly influence. We can influence our mental health. We can influence our physical health. We can influence our relationships. But for every person who decides to manifest this or that, somebody else is deciding to manifest that or this. And whether it's conflicting or just a little bit different, or whether you both are wishing for the same red bicycle, somebody ain't getting that bike. So you decide to be loving. You decide a certain kind of success. You decide you're going to live in a certain kind of society. And guess what? Everybody else is deciding too. So what are we left with? What are we left with on a daily basis? We woke up, congratulations, we're all terminal, and we're never going to be the same every single day. Congratulations, we want something that somebody else wants. Congratulations, we want something somebody else doesn't want. Democracy is messy. Biology is messy. Life is messy. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. And I would probably add, if I wrote it now, God will also show me when. God will also show me what. Whatever God is to you. I keep returning to kind of a simple trick question. I like trick questions. I think I like trick questions. I like asking a couple of them anyway. So here's a trick question for you. In a world of massive change and very substantial fear, some justified, some not, in a country buffeted by 400 years of race-based atrocities that are come to light in an entirely new way, really thanks to cameras built into every phones. I mean, there's a certain amount of truth being told now simply because it's available in visual and physical form. It's never not been true. Of the things we're seeing on videos, it's always been true, always, since before America started. But we're seeing it now. So America is rocked by this. In a country being rocked by these revelations and grief and anger, and in a country and in a world where we have been locked down to hide from a dangerous newly exposed, newly propagated virus, what do we decide? And here's why I think it's a trick question. In your mind, you might be thinking, well, about the social unrest, I decide to be a part of the change. I decide to be a force for good. I decide to be more active. I decide to be more kind. I decide to challenge my own presumptions and prejudices. I do. This is me talking, but also I'm thinking, more broadly than just me, right? I decide to keep an eye out for prejudice and to call it out, whether it's within me or in someone around me. I decide to not be in a club that excludes others. Okay? And with regard to the virus, I decide to respect other people's safety and health. I decide to think for myself. I decide to vote for this or that leader who stands for what I believe in. I decide to be a more active citizen. I decide to wash my hands more frequently. Whatever I decide. Okay. If you were to scan the list of things that most people are feeling impelled to decide now, the trick question is, are they different decisions than most of us or any of us would make on any given day? How do we make the world a better place? How do we make the world a safer place? Has it changed? The intensity is up, but have the decisions we are called to make fundamentally changed? Have the answers changed? Active citizen? Observer and caller outer of prejudice? Open-hearted, a giver of love and generosity, someone who stands for kindness. Yes, check, 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 any day of the week. And this is not to dismiss or diminish the different intensity. I'm just talking about the fact that none of us individually is Lord and decider for a country or a city or a world. If the head of the United Nations can't do it, and the president of the United States can't do it, and the mayor of the city can't do it, then neither can we. We're individual citizens. So necessarily, for our own peace of mind, but also to not be paralyzed by inaction, by overwhelm, we ought to ask ourselves, what is it we can actually do? And what we can actually do is be kind. Be open-hearted, be open-eyed, be open-minded, and be kind. And that is something I can handle. That's something I can do. Where it goes is not up to me. Now, once I decide to be kind, God will show me how. My family will show me how. My community will show me how. For God's sake, the headlines will show me how. What does kindness mean? I'm sure some of you saw a video of a young woman and a young man who stood in front of a store on the Santa Monica 3rd Street Promenade, a street of shops near the beach in Santa Monica, because a bunch of people were smashing the windows to get in and steal stuff. For that young man and that young woman, being kind, being active citizens meant protecting a store from, what would you say, from lawlessness. In their mind, what they were doing was actually protecting a cause from being maligned or slandered by lawlessness, because what the protesters have been doing is not even slightly lawless. There's a big difference between protesting and looting. They're not the same people, and they're not the same activities. This young man and young woman took a stand for lawful, constitutionally protected protest by protecting a store that had perfectly good insurance. But they took their stand. Each of us takes, and they probably didn't expect to. They just did it. Once I decide, God will show me how. It's not disempowering, it's empowering. It narrows my focus from trying to heal the world's divisions to healing a division in my own family or in my own community. Protecting one storefront, picking one person up off the ground, feeding one hungry belly. Lately I've been thinking about what motivates me to give a couple dollars to a stranger on the street, to hold the door, carry groceries, help a neighbor in need. When history repeats itself in headlines every day, Solutions never big enough for problems that we face. As a man, as a dad, what difference can I make? 'Cause I know better than to think I'll be remembered for a favor or a quarter or a smile. Oh, but maybe before I return to sender, I can do one thing worthwhile. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to raise a kind child. Sure would help if our boy went and got an MBA and took care of his artist mom and dad in their old age. But let's face it, Wall Street probably isn't in his DNA. But when his first grade teacher said she wanted us to know it's Jude who always comforts any kid who sits alone, there's just so much pride my heart can take. My retirement can wait. 'Cause I know better than to think I'll be remembered for a fortune or a pension or a prize. Oh, but maybe before I return to sender, I'll have done one thing worthwhile. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to raise a kind child. I don't want him to think the world is his to save. It's too much pressure anyway, it can't be done. I don't want him to think he has to be a saint, 'cause the truth is saints don't have any fun. Mostly I just hope, my boy, you'll come to understand. No 401k or GPA can make a happy man. It's having roots, doing good, helping out where you can. So put down roots, do some good, take somebody's hand. And you'll know better than most what really matters, what makes living this life worthwhile. There may come a day your own kids will remember how their granddad used to say with a smile that he raised. We raised a kind child. Now, if I could, I'd like to sing you one more song. Several of my songs have come to my mind more than most over the last 3 or 4 months. One of them came to mind on September 11th, 2001. Some of you may remember that day in a personal way. And you might remember there were a lot of church services that night, spontaneous. And when I went to a church service that night in Hollywood, down the street from my little dinky rent-control apartment at the time, I offered to sing a song, and the pastor said yes, and I sat down at a grand piano. And there's a song that I sang that I have a song called One Power, some of you may be familiar with. There are a few songs of mine I don't mean this to sound glib, or like silly, but there are a few songs of mine that I wish the message wasn't necessary to be sung, if that makes sense. I wish it was just so obvious that people would listen and say, well, yeah, so yeah, we don't need a song about that. We are not there yet. If we ever will be, maybe we will. By the way, I just noticed I'm using this cup. It says, well, you know, we all want to change the world. Quoting John Lennon. You say you want a revolution. That was an accident, as was matching my red, white, and blue shirt. Red, white, and blue was intentional, but the matching cup, complete accident. Anyway, I did want to read you. If that's okay, I'm gonna go. If it's okay to go straight up to 11 or 11:02, I hope that's okay to go a couple minutes late. I have no, as far as I can tell, I see no feedback. Oh wait, here it is. Oh yeah, you all have been commenting all this time, and I didn't even notice. I'm so sorry. Anyway, hi everybody. So if it's okay to take an extra couple minutes, I want to read you one page of this and then sing you one more song. This is the Tao, and it's a beautiful book, ancient book, several thousand years old. And I've been reading from it more and more at my workshops and classes and things that I teach. And actually, I'll just mention, I've given a lot of free programs on Facebook. It's not a plug, it's just an offer. I've given them all as gifts. We're talking 36 concerts. I gave 12 in a row 3 times, and I've done 10 morning meditations online. They're all still there. Daniel Nahmod USA. That's my Facebook handle. And it's only USA because there's another Daniel Nahmod in the world, believe it or not. And he also writes songs. And I don't love his songs. I'm sure he's a good guy, but I needed to differentiate. So Daniel Nahmod USA. If you look for me on Facebook and click on videos, it's go ahead and binge watch. I'll see you next Thursday. You know, that's just, I've done a lot of online programs, all free, all intended as a gift. And I just want to read you one page out of the Tao, because a part of what I've been talking about today, a part of my point always, really, with every class I give and everything I do, is peace of mind, is knowing that what you are and what you are doing, what you have done, what you decide is enough. It's enough. Enough is a very elusive feeling for most of us most of the time. If you can help one person, it's enough. If you can give $1, it's enough. One hug, one word of reassurance, it's enough. To strive to heal, like I said, all the world's problems is to set ourselves up for a lifetime of frustration and disappointment and negative judgment on ourselves. And most of all, it is to set ourselves up to be so discouraged by the smallness of our giving that we don't feel the give anymore. And that would be a tremendous loss to all of us, because each of us is dramatically improving the lives of those we love. We just don't tell each other too often. So not just those we love, of course, strangers on the street. We are making a difference right where we are. Once we decide, God shows us how. And showing us how doesn't mean become the head of the United Nations. Most of the time, it means helping somebody across the street. And that is enough. And the Tao is about peace of mind, maybe more than anything. So I thought I would read you a page. It might be, you know what? I'm going to read you there are pages I read all the time. And then there are some that I don't often read. But this is one of my favorite pages, page 12 of the Tao. The 5 colors blind the eye. The 5 tones deafen the ear. The 5 flavors overwhelm the palate. If you can hear my little boy in the other room, he's forgotten that I'm on doing a service. It's okay. The 5 flavors overwhelm the palate. Fancy things get in the way of one's growth. Racing here and there, hunting for this and that. Good ways to madden your mind, that's all. Relinquish what is without. Cultivate what is within. Live for your center, not your senses. I have so enjoyed visiting with you today, and I thank you. You're speaking to the community now. Your two ministers, the two ladies at the helm, are so obviously so capable and talented. But more than that, I can feel their kindness in every interaction. And as you could probably tell from the song I just sang and from everything I've said, and for me, there's no higher compliment and no higher value. Ladies, you are gold standard human beings as far as I have ever seen or experienced or witnessed. And so I know that your community is in good hands, and it's a pleasure to show up and look at the glowing green light on my laptop and say so. So thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me share today. This is a song that I wrote way back in 1999 or 2000. I put it on my album called One Power, and it has come up from time to time, and the last few weeks it has come up for obvious reasons. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you again. Here we go. When I watch the news, it makes me cry for all of the anger I see. So many souls believing the lie that hatred is all that can be. So I take the chance to offer my prayer, to whisper the truth. And I believe today is the day that my message gets through. That we are all children of the God of love. We are all meant to be instruments of peace. There's no us or them, foe, friend, we are all the same. There is only one, 'cause everyone is born with God's name. So the question becomes, where do we start? How do we heal so much pain? The answer is clear. We open our hearts and let love wash away every stain. 'Cause peace in our time begins with a smile, with one open hand. And when we teach by example, the world is sure to understand that we are all children of the God of love. We are all meant to be instruments of peace. There's no us or them, foe, friend, we are all the same. There is only one, 'cause everyone is born with God's name. Sometimes it seems so useless to try, so futile to dream, but remember The power of creation lies in what we believe, 'cause we are all children of the God of love. We are all meant to be instruments of peace. There's no us or them, foe or friend. We are all the same. There is only one. Everyone is born with God's name. There is only one. Everyone is born with God's name. With God's name. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon and a wonderful week ahead.